Alright, so maybe trying something new tonight. Going to be streaming this to YouTube. Just getting this set up here. Make sure I can get the URL. So I thought I would stream this to YouTube. It's going to be pretty kind of casual on the fly. Because I'm trying to, this is the first time I'm trying to do this. And also I thought if anybody in the class joins me in the chat, I'm not going to be streaming from the Blackboard Collaborate. I'm just going to be streaming from YouTube, so I can give out the link for that, if I can find the link on YouTube for that. Just get that together. Let's see. I think I'm just going to give out my channel. I think that's probably the best way, because this should be on my channel, right? Double check that. Yeah, I'll just give that here. I got the link. Let me just get this pasted into the Collaborate chat. So like I said, if anyone joins me, they can check this out. And then also, if I answer any questions, it'll also be on the stream. All right, so what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to go over some of your designs from primarily Unit 12. I downloaded those and took a quick look at them, and also I'm going to kind of talk in depth about them. Kind of do a little bit what I've done in the past, where I've talked about some of your kind of work in progress designs. I know you guys are finishing up your final projects for the semester. So I'm going to kind of just go over some of your designs, and I think it would be helpful, as just like I did in the previous sessions. Even if I want you guys to watch this video. If you guys aren't able to watch the stream live, I'm going to be posting this. It'll be archived in YouTube, and I'll be posting a link to our course because I think it's important for you guys to see my comments on everybody's work. Because I think I may mention something or give a suggestion or a fix to an issue that I see that may be applicable to you. So I think that would be kind of helpful to everybody if you just watch the this complete kind of review session, and then take the feedback that I give to everybody's work, and maybe you could apply it to your own. So just like I've done in the past, I think this should be helpful, because I know you guys are. This is like the final week of classes here, and next week is going to be finals week. So I know you guys are busy finishing up your projects. This is not your only course at NCC, and you're taking some other courses, so you guys I know everybody's busy finishing up your projects and preparing for a final exam. So I want to be able to kind of give you guys a little bit of feedback going into finishing up your final websites. Like I said, it's been a while since I've been able to do one of these videos. I've had actually switched out computers and been having some technical issues myself, but luckily, hopefully, if everything goes well, and hopefully the internet doesn't cut out tonight. When you've been having some internet issues here, I gotta love Service Electric. So hopefully during the stream the internet does not cut out. But hopefully now I want to be able to give you some feedback. So actually, before we do that too, let me just talk about our course. Let me just bring up our course here again. The schedule for the course. I know a couple of you had questions about what's expected, what needs to be completed till the end of the semester. All right, so looking at our course here and kind of thinking about the calendar. So what I'd like to do with my online course, I give you guys an extension. Usually what I do in my for all of my courses on campus is I set the due date for the reading day right before finals week as the last day to submit any missing or incomplete or resubmit any work. That's the last day that I accept any submissions. But for my online course, I give you guys about an extra week or so to not only finish up the final exam, but also to finish up your final project or to submit any completed missing work. So what I've done is, if you look on the calendar, let me just bring up a calendar here. kind of show you what we're at. We're at the 6th of December now. So like I said, usually what I do is I usually do around the 12th, or like I said, that day right before when finals week starts. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend that to the following Sunday, or the following the end of the day on Sunday. Okay, so just like in this course where all of our work has been due by the end of the day of Sunday that week, the same thing goes for this course here for finishing up your final and also finishing up your final project. So all work, including your final exam and your final project, is due at the end of the day on the 17th. Also, too, there's a couple more assignments that I have to take a look at and grade. I'll have the feedback for you probably by the end of the day tomorrow for those. But also one thing I want you to make note of during this week too is double check and make sure that you've submitted all of your exercises, because your exercises are worth approximately about 30% of your grade. And if you miss an exercise or you don't submit it, then you could get a 0 on that. And that's approximately around 2% or so of your grade, and that can start to bring your grade down. So I want to make sure that you make a submission, even if it's a partial submission, please just get as much as you can in for each exercise so I can give you as much credit as possible. All right, so you have up until the 17th of December, so that's the end of the day on Sunday, to finish up your final exam and also to finish up your website for your final project. Also note about the website, because like I said, we had some issues with the NCC Art web server. One requirement that I'm not going to be requiring for your final website is for you guys to upload it to the NCC Art web server, because we've been having some issues. We did move to a new server, but it's not at the point yet to really be ready to create the accounts on right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not require you guys to upload your final websites to the NC web space, but you do need to zip them up and submit them through Blackboard. Okay, so I need to get your final submission as a zip file that includes all of your HTML, your CSS, your image files, everything that is required for your website. I want to make sure you put that into one zip and submit that. Okay, but you do not need to upload it to the NC web space. We'll be going over future courses, like if you guys are going to be taking the web animation course and taking the advanced website design course, we'll have the NC web space fully online and be able to create new accounts in there. So we'll be able to, don't worry about that, we'll be able to go over that in the future. If you guys do have questions, though, let me offer this though. If you guys are curious about maybe uploading your work to maybe a personal hosted account, like if you guys want to go to a shared host like Bluehost, or let me just bring it up here, like Bluehost, or I'm going to just list a couple of the cheaper ones. Do Bluehost. We'll do GoDaddy. Everybody loves a GoDaddy. And what's the other one? Would be a good one. HostGator. It's another popular one. Like, these are maybe not the fastest of the hostess. Well, actually, Bluehost is actually pretty good. Support-wise, could be, some people have positive experiences, some people have negative experiences. But one thing about all these three services that I'm bringing up on the screen here, all of them pretty much are the cheapest shared web hosting. So if you just want to get started, you only want to pay like $2, $3, $4 a month max just to get started, which I recommend. Don't put a lot of money into web hosting. If you want to start hosting a portfolio, start hosting your web designs, just try to get one of the cheaper plans to get started. You can always upgrade it. Or also, once you get comfortable with uploading your files and using the host there to display your web pages, your websites live on the internet, you can then move to a host relatively easy. It's just a matter of just transferring, FTPing your files to a new host, and it's not that big of a deal. So I do recommend to think about that. We do cover this a little bit more in the advanced class, and we talk about WordPress hosting, we talk about some other hosting options. So we'll spend more time on uploading your sites to a web host like GoDaddy or Bluehost. But I do recommend take a look at them if you're curious about them. If you have questions about using one of these hosts, like I said, we weren't able to cover too much in class. Hopefully you guys watched the videos about the WordPress hosting. You guys saw that because you got a little bit of experience with that. But for just hosting your static files, if you guys have questions about uploading your files to one of these services, just send me an email and we can discuss that even after the class, if you guys have any questions about that. So, I want to make sure I support you there. If you guys want to put the websites that you create, that you finish up for this course and put them as part of an online portfolio or something like that. All right, so let me get started. Okay, so like I said, we'll be talking about the Project B submission. Also think too about this course too, a little bit of housekeeping here too. Want to make sure, I also want to remind everybody that I will be checking this week, and also it's important going into next week. I said I scheduled one more session for next week, just like tonight. I'm going to be doing one more session like this at 7 o'clock next Wednesday. Doing a video, and I'll record the video too if you guys have any additional questions as you guys, those last few days before your final projects are due. But if you take my comments tonight and you have any questions, or maybe wanted to revise your work based on my comments and you want to get my feedback on those revisions, please post those revisions to the Project B work in progress discussion board. Okay, so please, if you go to the discussion boards link, go to the bottom, please post them there. That's where you should be posting maybe a zip file of your files. Like I said, since we're not, I know the instructions have we're uploading to to the NCR web space, but in the meantime, just zip up your files and attach them as a file to the discussion board, and I'll take a look at them there. So if you make any updates between now and next Wednesday, please post them to the discussion board. If I see any new revisions, I'll take a look at them and I'll comment on them and give you some feedback and maybe answer your questions on them. So please take some time, post some of your updated work to the work in progress discussion board, and so I can take a look at it and discuss it next week. Okay, because I want to give you guys as much feedback as possible going into this final week. So in case because I don't want you, worst case, I don't want you to hit a wall and be able to not complete your websites because you hit a technical issue and then you're just going to give up and not finish it up. I want to make sure that you're able to finish up your websites and be able to submit them by the end of next week. Okay, so make sure everybody has as much support as they can going into this final week here. All right, so let me start taking a look at your files here. Like I said, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at some of your files that you submitted. Like I said, I'm going to be looking at the Unit 12 Part 2. Now, even though I know that you guys have probably made changes since you submitted this exercise, so like I'm expecting maybe you did modifications, I'd recommend just take my feedback in stride. I'm going to also just know that these are just drafts, and I'm sure you guys have made improvements or made changes. If you guys, hopefully the comments that I'll make will still be helpful to you, and like I said, based on my feedback, if you guys have additional questions, post those questions to the discussion board with maybe some updated work, and then I can directly talk about your updated work before you submit it for the final project. Okay, so like I said, I'll probably take it. Maybe we'll see what this looks like, and then we will take a look at it here, because like I said, I know these are just drafts. Okay. All right, so let's take a look, see what you have here. So it looks like you have the base of a page here. Let's see, you have some text here. You have looks like you have starting to get some boxes here for some buttons. So working on the header. Looks like you have the box for the footer. Okay. One thing I start seeing that would probably help you right away is probably and maybe you've already kind of accomplished this. You want to make sure that you have a container that kind of holds all of your work together, kind of puts in the box. Right now I see pretty much just have like one big row with one column with all of your text just kind of listed there, just kind of displayed in this kind of one big area here. So it's not very elegantly laid out. Especially I remember from your Photoshop designs, how that was nicely laid out. So when in order to kind of get that close to what you have, I think you had like a nice kind of box or that your content fit into, and then you had some background images here. So one thing I'd recommend, let me actually open this up into a text editor. I'll put up Sublime Text. And so I won't be doing a lot of changes here, kind of modifying your design a lot. Just maybe we're going to take a quick look at some of your HTML, maybe some of your CSS, give you some feedback on that. All right, let's maybe say something if I see something that you might be doing wrong, maybe something you could just kind of tweak a little bit here. All right, so you're setting the page here. So you have an H4 tag up here. So like I said, what I would first do, it looks like from the footer, let's see, you're probably doing like a sticky footer, I'm thinking maybe, because you're doing like a wrap here. Look like you're doing like an ID with a wrap. You're doing a container. Do you have any container CSS? Let's see what you have here. No, you do have your wrap where you're doing like a minimum height 100%, or are you doing like trying to play with the height a little bit there? Okay, and then you have looks like your login with your header and your navigation up top of there. All right, so then you're wrapping it. So I'm not sure, kind of looking at this now, I'm thinking about you have your wrap, and this looks like that's for your footer down there. It looks like you're doing your footer for the wrap part. It looks like you have a box there. So one thing I would probably suggest is, one thing, and I saw when I was taking a look at company design, this may be helpful for a bunch of you, is that if you want to have a box that's kind of starting to be you want to be tight against the left and the right side of the window, what you want to do is you want to knock out the margin padding that the browser will use by default for the window. So to do that, what I would do is I'd probably just do a little HTML body and just reset this to margin 0 and padding 0. Kind of good practice just to kind of zero out the padding there. And once you do that, let me save that. Did I save that file there? Margin padding 0, 0, HTML body. Oops, I put a little period there. Type too fast there. Put a comma. Yeah, nice. So it kind of makes that kind of nice and tight to the left and to the right side. So that should be helpful there. So let's put a box. Let's put a container. It looks like you are using a container. You're trying to into footer. But let's put that container and let's put it. I'm just gonna move this up here. I'm not gonna really worry about your wrap right now, but I am want to think about it. Let's put everything inside the body. Just to make it easy. Let's put this inside of a container. The closing div, put it just wrapped around. I probably also want to use all of these break tags. I probably would just get rid of those, put in the container, and then now nothing's going to change just by me doing that. 'Cause it looks like you don't have any CSS right now for the container. But one thing I like to use a container for is either to use, let's say, to start off with like a percentage width, or if you want to do a fixed width, if you want to do some media queries. They say we don't get into responsive design too much in this intro class. We get that into responsive design a lot in the web animation, and then especially in the advanced web course. But one thing you should at least do with the container is at least figure out what kind of size you want your box for your content to be in, and then try to float in the center of the page. Okay. Sometimes you can get away with putting your content stretching out all the way to the left to the right side. You still want a little bit of margin or a little bit of padding or something, just a little bit of spacing, so that your text isn't so tight to the window. But you want to at least have a box that your content sits in. Okay, so let me just kind of do that. Let me see if I can bump up my text size here. First I'll do is give it like we'll do like a minimum, well, we'll do, right now, like I said, if I was going to be doing a container, I would probably be doing this inside a media query so we can keep this responsive and adapted to the browser size. But what I'll just do is we'll keep it super simple here. We're going to do a width, and we'll just say width of, I think you're kind of narrow in your design, so I'll just do like a width of 800 pixels, see how it looks like. The height, since you already have content in there, I'm just going to do height of auto. All right, let's refresh the page. So that kind of puts that in a box, right? We're in a box right there, but the box now is tight over to the left side. That's the way it's going to just align itself naturally over to the left side. So what you want to do with the container, then your CSS, is just do a margin 0 and auto. To float that in the center. Nice and easy. Let's also just kind of polish it up a little bit more, because I think in your design, I think you had this box kind of had a background color to it. I think you were also using maybe some images or some type of tiled image for the page background on your site there. But let me just do like a simple background color here. Background color of, let me just do like a light gray. Now, see what that looks like. I don't know. Probably need a little bit. I think here, let me actually go to Adobe Color here. Let me get like a nice, like a light tan of some sort. I think that was kind of closer to your design. Just grab the quick load color here. Like I said, the stream is going to be super in casual, super impromptu. Going to be doing everything on the fly. Please bear with me as stuff takes a little bit too long. Also, bear with me too if the internet cuts out or something takes too long. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so let me do a. Let me just kind of see if I can just get some just all very light color, just something here, something like that. Let's get the color code for that, just to get the hex color. Bring that over. Try that out. That's way too, the value's too intense. Let me bring it to like even more, something like that. Try that now. And just to give an example of something I would do to probably set up this box a little bit better. That's all. Oops. That's a little bit better. And then let me do something where maybe I will do, just give it a little bit of border, maybe like a border left and border right, something like that. Border, we'll do like a border left, 1 pixel, solid. Let me just make that a little bit of a, actually, like I said, I'm not saying these are your colors at all. I'm just trying to just give you a little bit of a different look here. Let's grab that, color it again. We do a border right. Just like I said, just from remembering what your design did a little bit, I give it a little bit of border there so you can start to see it. Maybe I'll just do like a 2 pixel so I can pop it off a little bit more. Okay, start to see it. Even a 3 maybe. Remember you had a little bit of a border on the left and right side there. Yeah, so you can start to see it a little bit more. That's not too bad. All right, but still you also have this issue of this text being really tight in the container box. So what I probably would do is probably, I don't usually like to use padding too much because padding does change up the width of a block. So you have like a div, and that's considered a block. Like think of it like a box on your page. And you know when you have a div, usually you would give it a width and maybe make the height auto if you get based on the content. But then usually it has either percentage width or it has like a pixel width that you're dealing with. When you add padding though, it's actually changing up the dimensions of the box. So that's why I don't usually like to use padding unless I really need to, or maybe I'm using it for like a small little sub box within a larger box. Maybe I would do something like that where I would like do a little bit of padding there to kind of push the text in from the borders or something like that. But for a container like this, what I prefer to do, I probably would prefer to, let's say if there's a div or something or some type of tag that surrounds this text, I'd rather give that a margin to push that off a little bit more. So let me see about that. What do you have for the text here? I'll say, so you have a H3 with a welcome. You have your nav, top of here, you're working on. And then you have, so H3, this testimonial. Okay, let's do this testimonial. That'd actually be a good example. You have a class on a paragraph tag, which is good. The paragraph's wrapped around this block of text, which I'm looking at here. Let's give that a little bit of a margin. Let's do that. Let's see where your testimonial is. Looks like you're writing your CSS well. Like I like how you're doing the selector of like you're using like a P or div, and then you're doing a dot for the class. It's nice and clean. But testimony, here we go. And you're already doing a margin here. You're doing margin, so you're doing margin top, you're doing a margin right, a margin bottom, and a margin left. So the left and right are auto. I would still give this, honestly, let's just try this. Honestly, I would just give it like 10 all the way around. You know, I like how you do in the shorthand too by doing the top, right, bottom, and left. That's nice. I like that. It's good. But since it's kind of redundant if everything's going to be equal, so I could just do something like that just to push that off a little bit more. But if you want to do a shorthand, maybe you wanted to give it a little bit wide on the side here. Maybe on the side, I would do like 20. Right? And that starts to push it on the side there. That kind of works nicer. All right, so hopefully that can kind of get you to start. Like I said, I know when you submitted this, you were really early in your design. You're just starting to structure the page. My overall comments to you, I actually think you're on track with your CSS. I do like your CSS and how you have this organized, how you're having this typing this out. I think it's good. Just be careful. That's good. I think I like how you're using some pseudo classes. I like how you're using your selectors and the classes. Really, really good. And I think just I think you just need a little more structure on your HTML, but I think you're on track. And like I said, you probably made progress past this point where you probably have some background images working, you have these buttons cleaned up and the background colors. But hopefully that little container, and maybe you've also had your like a container working too, because I did go over that a previous exercise or previous demonstration in the class, one of the videos, showing you how to center align a content box. But hopefully that just kind of clarified some things. But I do think you're on track with the way you're doing the page. Just has to keep pushing it forward, and I think you'll be in a good place here. All right, but like I said, if you want to, for Laura, if you want to submit a updated design, please do. I'd love to take a look at your updated work, like say by next Wednesday. So between now and next Wednesday, if you want to submit an updated work, just zip it up, just like you submitted for the Unit 12 Part 2 exercise. Submit it to the discussion board as a zip file. And then you will be good to go. Okay, and then I could take a look at it, just like I did tonight, and kind of give you some additional feedback. As in, I'm sure that's going to be more polished. You'll have more pages, and the page will be more complete. So I can actually give you more feedback on maybe some specific areas you're having an issue with. Okay. All right. Let me go to. Okay, Michael's. All right. Your writing lab. Yes, the writing lab. All right. So looks like, okay. All right. So in the writing lab, let me just scroll through this. Same thing that I was talking to Laura about. I think having a container, you definitely need some type of container for all this content, because the content's tight over to the left and right side. And sometimes, a lot of modern day websites actually are stretching out to the right and to the left and to doing that alignment, and that can be okay. Like you can have, and looks like you have a little bit of spacing here. I'd actually give yourself a little bit extra, more, a little bit more spacing, so the content isn't so tight to the left and right side. But one thing you don't want to do, which what you are doing, is having just one big row like this that pretty much takes up the whole browser width. Okay, you want to. So if you're going to be, let's say if your design is going to pretty much adapt and stretch to the left and the right side, you want to break it up into multiple columns, at least 2 columns, maybe 3. Break up that page or break up that row so that it's not so so wide to look at. Okay. Or what you could also do too is maybe play with the layout a little bit. Like maybe if you have a lot of text here. I know you're still just using the lorem ipsum copy here, the dummy copy. But maybe if you just reduce the amount of text here, align it better. Maybe it's also because it's like so much text, that would also make it a little bit better or easier to work with here. Also to just comment too, like I said, like once again, I know this was just you're still was in the draft phase when you worked on this, but definitely for your final site though, I've commented this on your designs, please use real copy. And this goes for everybody. When you submit your final sites, you have to be using real copy. Okay, real text. Don't be using lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum is great for when you're testing out a page, you're working on some preliminary comps, and you just are kind of working on some layouts and just getting it to work, and you just need some content just to throw in there and to kind of work with it. I agree. It's like it's a great tool to use. But when you're going to be submitting this to a client, you need to use real copy. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you have to create the copy yourself. You could actually, if you do a little research, which I'm sure you've done, go to other kind of writing sites here. I'm in this course, because it's for educational purposes only, I allow you guys to borrow copy from other websites. If you do that, just source it. At the bottom of the page, just say where the content came from, provide a link back to the site, say that it was used for educational purposes. I've had a lot of students do that like in the footer of the page, or you could do it right below the text so you actually source from some other site. As long as you source it and say you're using for educational purposes, it's fine for this project. Okay, that would be something I wouldn't do in a client project. Either you'd be working with a copywriter, or be working with the staff, or whoever's gonna be writing, or maybe you'll hire it out, or you write it yourself. But you definitely want to be using real copy, because you really won't understand the true design. Because really, in the end, what we're trying to accomplish here is really, we're trying to, as designers, with web designers, we're trying to figure out what's the best way to display content. It's all about the content. It's all about the images, about the copy. And your designers, how can you organize and display that content, that real content, in a way that's engaging, a way that's, maybe possibly interactive, or that's just pleasantly laid out on a page so that the viewer will want to engage with that content, will want to read it, will want to look at it, okay? If it's confusing, not laid out, if it's lorem ipsum copy like this is, they're just going to check out. And like I said, this also goes with the client. If you're going to be showing a design to a client, sometimes you can get away with like really super early versions of designs, like super early versions, comp versions of designs. If you get just preference to the client that you're going to be using lorem ipsum copy, and that could be totally fine. But what I wouldn't make a standard practice, though. They're going to want to anticipate seeing their page because they really won't really truly understand the design until they see it with real content. All right, let's see here. Let's see what's something I could probably help you out with here. All right, so this image, I'd probably, like I said, I think comment, like, two before, you could probably also do, it would also be nice to kind of, using a gray background, two things I'm saying here. Be nice if this bar, this header, up top here, stretched 100% width. It'd be really nice if this orange kind of header, this bar, where you have like two different, hues of orange here, and or two different shades of it. If you did just stretch out 100% width and center line, which I think is what you had in your design, and you probably were still working on that, that would be something that would be really polished up. I would probably also, using your pseudo classes, I would take away the underline. You can do that with a text decoration colon none. That'll remove the underline in your CSS. I would definitely do that to clean that up. But I would like to see this centered. I'd like to see this box all the way going over 100% width over. That would definitely help kind of bring in and kind of polish up the header. Kind of also, like I said, the same thing I did with Laura's page. If I would do like a HTML and a body margin padding of 0 to kind of knock off this space so it's nice and tight over here. So we can do this. Let me kind of do a couple of those changes, see if I can quickly do them. Like I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time editing each CSS file or your HTML files, but yeah, maybe it will be helpful for you guys. Okay. Let me also look at the HTML too. Let me open up that. Let me close out Laura's files. All right, let me just see here. So let's look at the top. What are you using for the top here? So you have a container, which is good. Your header. You're doing your image in there in the header. Let me see, do you have any style CSS for the header? So you do. So you're using a background image. All right, so what I probably would do, I would probably find what that... You probably know exactly what that color is because you designed that in Photoshop or Illustrator. You should know exactly what that color is, the color code for that, the RGB or the hex color for that. I would probably not use a background image. I would use just a background color and just stretch this header. Because you're doing the right thing by doing this with a header tag. Using the header tag, I wouldn't do this as a nav too. I would just, you know what I would do? I would just do something where this header... like I said, I don't have the exact color unless you've used it someplace else. Well, actually, wait, you actually have this color right here. Let me look at that border. Maybe have that applied as a border. What's border right here? Maybe that's the color. Let me take that. Just do a background color. Also, let me also check the chat too, just in case anybody does. Like I said, I'm not keeping my eyes on the chat. I don't know if Collaborate's going to ping me if you guys chat it, but hopefully you guys see I did post the stream URL in the chat window. So if you click over to the right there, I have it like, let me just bring up a screen over. You open up Blackboard Collaborate, look to see that there's this little magenta kind of pull out menu here. And you'll see like a chat option you want to go to. You'll see the chat stream. I posted it to everybody, so you can guys see the actual link for that. All right, we do background color. Let me save that. Let me save the header. Let me see what that looks like. All right, see how that pulls it off. So it's not the right shade, but hopefully you will get the idea. Let me also do the same thing I did with Laura's. Just knock this out. Usually I like to do this. Okay, let's see nice and tight there. And then what you can even do, I think you have your, so you're using a header tag. You have this in a container. I'd swap this around too. Yo, you're not doing any, okay, so what I would do is I'd probably push this container, push this inside, where you have your image, something like this, and push that right, something like that. Okay. And then do a little CSS for the cane, just like I did with Laura. Do your CSS. Do up here. Get a container. Now, the one thing, you probably should use it when you use the container class. You should be very consistent with the container class. So it's good because you probably be using container all over the place. If you're gonna have a container just in the header and just in the footer or the body, and they're gonna be different sizes, which you usually wouldn't do, but you want to make sure that they maybe have a unique name. So maybe like container/header. But I usually don't like to do that. I usually just like to have a container, then give it like a width, either percentage or pixels, for that. So maybe what I'll do is we'll do the percentages here. We'll do this 70%. Let's do like 80%. Well, because since you want to go kind of wide anyway. Do height auto. Okay. And then do the same thing. Let's do the margin. Oh, I'm not used to using Sublime Text in Windows here. It's kind of a little touchy. When you do margin 0 auto, push that in the center. Okay, so that's something I would do. So I would just omit this. Don't use an image here. Don't use it. Sometimes you get away with maybe using a tiled image that you're going to then tile all the way across. But that kind of locks you into the size of the image. And what I would do is I would just use just a simple, nice, clean background color. You can even do this 2 colors here too. If you wanted to do, so you have one that goes all the way over. Let's say you want to do this this line going across, this bar that's below that going across. Which you're doing it with, so you have the Purdue out, it's your nav. Okay, so your nav, so your header's doing the color, it's in the container for the image. Now I'm even thinking, might even not even need to use the container, actually, now that I'm looking at this here. Maybe I'll just omit the container. Let's simplify this a little bit. Do a little bit, we'll fix this with some CSS here. Keep it so I'll just stay focused on the header here. So you have, let's say you give your header one color, which I'm doing. Let's work on your nav though. So your nav here, which is your header nav, you have a background image, once again doing the background image. I don't know if I can get that color from your design. I could open that up in Photoshop and sample it with a screenshot or something like that, but like I said, I don't want to take too much time here. Let me just do, I'm just going to get once again, I'll just get the color. So I'm used to, I'm primarily a Mac person here, but when I'm streaming on, I'm trying to get better streaming on the PC. So I don't have all my tools that I like to use to sample colors and to get that. Actually, I'll just use this color. All right, that's nice. Let's try that. So I don't have all my tools. I like to kind of sample colors on the fly, and so I can kind of see that, which I have available on the Mac. But let me hear. All I want to do is I just want to throw in a color right here so I can kind of see how that will work. So let's go to your nav. Header nav, okay? And the way you're writing the CSS2, I think is good. You're writing the selector of the header. Your nav tag selector is inside the header, so you do space, nav. That looks good. So I think you're starting to write the CSS well. You're understanding the hierarchy of the selectors, of the tag selectors, so I think that's good. Let me just do a background color here. All right, I'm also do not like, it's a sidebar map. Let me turn off that side map here. I think that's kind of just, I'm clicking over there by accident. It keeps dragging it down. So let me just turn that, hide the mini map. All right, let me do, so I have the background color, the width. Yeah, let me do the width. I'm going to set that to be 100%. So that should, because I gave it a fixed size. Let me do that. Let me save that. Oops, did I do the with 100% height? I would probably, the heights, you're giving a fixed size up there because you want to control that. That's fine. With 100%. Also, let me do the header too. I want the header. The header is 100%. That should be fine. The nav is, let me make sure why it's not. inspect it. Also, one thing I know I discussed in the video about inspecting your page. If you're not sure why, if you're doing some CSS, not sure why it's not working, super helpful thing to do is just to inspect it, so you can see exactly what is, why it is not. It's your margin, height, auto with height there, URL. It's okay. The background image there. So you have your image. Oh, it's the container. It's because I still have the container wrapped around it. So inspecting the page, actually wait, oh, because did I not save the HTML file? Because I removed the container, but I did not save it. Please save your work. Even I forget to do that. There it goes. Okay. So now I have that bar. Like I said, the bar actually matches not too bad closely. So now I have that kind of going all the way over to the side. Now let's get that nav. Let's push that to the center here. Let's do the exact same thing. You're staying with your header nav here. Since that's 100% of the nav, and you have a unordered list there, let's try to do that. Let's use that. Header nav. UL. Let me see. We do a margin 0. Oh, I also need to give it a height or width here because I need to. If we're going to be kind of trying to float it in the center here. The width here of. I have to figure out what the approximate width for this would be. Let's try that. Oh, way too small there. Yeah, I don't think I can. I don't think if I just do the. Yeah, I'm gonna need to. Let's give it like a. Pixels. I could probably do a percentage too, but like I said, just kind of doing this on the fly and kind of seeing what we can. But I do need to give it a width because what happens is when you try to do the margin 0 auto to push a box or a block inside of the page, it does need to have a width because by default, every block, every div tag is going to be 100% width. So that's just if you don't apply a width to it, it's naturally going to be 100% just going to take up as much space as it can. So if you want to push something with the margin 0 auto, which is one of my favorite CSS shorthand kind of techniques to use, is to just to have a box that has a width, and you want to float in the center here. Actually, let's do a percentage. I'm kind of fighting with this percentage. It's kind of crazy. We do the 80%. Let's do that. That looks better. So that's kind of floating in the center. Let's see what your logo too. Where's your logo? You're just doing an image. All right, so let's do the header. Don't know if you have a header image rule. No, let's just kind of stay on this. Get the image. Or what you could also do is you could try to do a text align. So sometimes I like to, if my image is inside the header, sometimes a text align center on the image will actually work too to get that floating kind of more in the center. Text align. Try this out. Oops. Yep, I kind of pushed it in the center. So just text align center, just kind of float that image. Now, it still has the background image, but let's say I want to I throw that image away. Or let me refresh the page here. Did I save that? Header nav. Make sure I can throw in the right image away. So it's nav here. Yeah, let me get rid of this background image. Save that. Which is that image? That's. Oh, is it your body? Let me see. What are you doing? Let me inspect that again. So know exactly what that image is there. Oh, you have actually an image tag. Oh, because that color is okay. It's actually part of this color is actually fixed to this Al Purdue online writing. All right. So what I'd recommend you do is two things. Actually, now I'm kind of taking a look at this. Is that I'm seeing this owl. See how it's pixelated around the side here? You see how it's like jagged edges pixelated? That's because I'm not sure. I think maybe you sampled this logo from the existing site, or I'm not, or maybe I thought you were working on creating this yourself. But I'm not sure the reason why it's jaggy, but you want to make sure if you're going to have a logo in the header, you want to make sure it's nice and sharp. So you don't want to have any jagged edges. I would definitely clean that up. But the way I would recommend you to do this though, I'd recommend you get this back in Illustrator and do either one of two things. Either save this out as a transparent PNG file. Okay, so you just have a white image, nice and clean, don't have any jagged edges. A transparent PNG file, don't have a background color at all. Make it transparent, and you can do this in Photoshop or Illustrator. And so that it just kind of lays nicely over top of that background box there, the background color box. That'd be one thing. Or better yet, do it as an SVG file. So if you do this in Illustrator, just save this out, which you can just do in Illustrator, easily just do a save and save it as an SVG file, because then you can just have a nice clean vector file of your logo, and it'll be transparent by default, and it'll work great. Okay, I definitely recommend it to you, but just by doing this kind of small tweaks, even though I can't get rid of this image here because you actually have this background color as part of the image, but now I can see, now I think you're getting close to what you had in your design. Okay, one last trick I'll do with yours too. I would just, little suggestion here, I'd probably do something where your boxes here, I would still probably think about breaking this up into columns. If you do want to go 100% width on the page, it could work, but you definitely want to break it up in your rows into columns, maybe have 2 columns. You can even do something like have like general writing over to the left here, and then over this research and citation over to the right, have it in 2 columns with some text maybe below it. That would actually look kind of nice. Or you might want to take this whole idea of a container, kind of having your box, and just kind of carry that through the rest of your page. So kind of keeps everything nice spaced off of the margins. You could use percentages to still make it flexible and do that. But that's just for layout. But for color, I don't think, I always was concerned when I look at your design, having this gray and the white text, the contrast level with that. And it's also the cleanness of it. I think actually what you should probably do is maybe just use it's fine if you want to, if you love the gray, if you love the gray background, okay. So if you love that gray, I'd still lighten up the gray just a little bit. I'd decrease the value of that just a little bit, just make it a little bit lighter. That would just be for me. But let's say you love the current shade of gray. What I would at least would do is you want to pop off the text a little bit, provide a little bit more contrast from the white or the gray. Okay, I'd recommend doing for your content, your body copy, doing like maybe white boxes with a little bit of a very dark gray text over top of it, and then now those boxes then would be laid over top of the gray background. So let me do that real quick here. The last little change I'll do for yours. Let me see your HTML here. Let me see what you are using. So you're gen right, so you're doing a res site. All right, so what I'd probably recommend, you're doing IDs here. IDs are good. I do like how you're using sections. I like how you're using sections because it's nice to break off your page into sections. You're using the section tag, nice semantic tag. But I probably would do this, say if I was going to do this to all of your boxes here, I would do this as a class. So I would do this as, what are we doing here? We'll do your copy. I'll just do like a copy class. Okay, that's because the base is just kind of holding, or some type of class that you would do. You don't have to use copy. You use any descriptor, whatever it would make sense to you. But something when using class, it's meant to be repeatable down through multiple sections of your site here. So let me put a copy class there, and let me just put in some CSS, because if I didn't do this as a class, I'd have to do this change, what I'm about to do, to each one of your IDs rules, and that's not going to be fun to do because then I got to do each one. That's a lot of time. So I have my copy class here. Give it a background color of white. And just give the font color. Oh, I'm sorry, just color. And I'm going to give it I usually actually that's a nice little tip too. I don't usually like to use really an absolute value of black. I don't like to do for my type too often. I don't like to just do an absolute value. I like to bring it back a little bit. So it can just be a very dark gray, but it's not absolute black. So I kind of like to play with that a little bit. Let's save that, refresh this. Ooh, and also too, let me make sure I have my color. Ooh, didn't type the color right. Why is that? My editor kind of playing with my eyes a little bit here. So it's background color copy. Okay, so did turn it white. Where is my copy? Is not turning black though. Why is my color? This looks weird with my editor changed the color there. Why is that? Maybe it's just the editor playing with me there. Let me refresh this. Let me inspect this. Why is that color not being? Your color is still white. Let me inspect it. Inspecting as you work on web pages is going to be your best friend. Whenever you're kind of doing something, you're kind of wondering, why is my, you might have a paragraph tag. I'm wondering if the paragraph tag is overwriting it. You are. That's a paragraph tag is overwriting it. Inspecting will solve all of your problems, because what the inspector does, get used to using it. You're working on websites, you have to always be inspecting your work. And primarily, I use the inspector as a crucial part of my development. I don't, if you could just keep changing stuff, which I see a lot of introductory students do, they'll just keep changing values in their style sheets and just almost like trial and error and just kind of throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. And I can understand that process. And a lot sometimes, you know, web design is an iterative trial and error process just to see what it works. But what you could do if you use the inspector and you can see the elements and your tags, and you can see the CSS that's being modifying those elements, and then you can even change things on the fly here. So if I just deactivate that paragraph, look, my text becomes red. I can kind of do that on the fly. So it's a super nice tool. That's kind of the approach that I want to go there. All right, so let me just admit, I'm going to go down to your text here. And since I'm going to have to take that away there, because I don't want the text to be right. But here, actually, I'm just going to do this to one box. I can do this to one box. Do this one box, but I do want to bring in the background color. Let me see the background color. Why was that? You did you have? Oh, so you're doing the whole row, the whole section as a gray. So you're not just doing a gray through the whole body. You're doing a gray to each of the section. And then I see. Then your paragraph has it. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take that copy and put it inside, or let's take that copy class and put it inside your paragraph. There you go. That's the look I want to try to go for. So something kind of like this. And I'll probably go a little bit darker on the type too, just to pop it off from the gray background, because you're always going to be fighting with that. Let me do, I'm sorry, I'm not this one, 333s. I like to use kind of a 333, 666, 999 for just give me some different values of gray. That's good. I kind of like that. All right, so something like that. I think that kind of works for you a little bit better. Kind of pops off the gray. Like I said, once again, I probably would lighten up that gray a little bit. Like for this, let me see this gen right, where you have the gen rit. For this, redoing the color there. If I can find that. Your color. Let me just see where are you doing the? Let me see. Also, let me just double check see where that. So what let me show you is just real quick. So if I just bring back that gray just a little bit, I think it would actually help too. So that's applying there. Did you have? Where are you doing the actually? Now I'm thinking about where are you actually doing the gray? Do you have like a section rule? It's part of your body. Oh, you have this as an image. Really? Oh, I wouldn't do that. Like if you are going to do a background color, I wouldn't do it as an image. I would do something where you definitely don't want to do that. Instead of doing an image, there's no reason to do like a solid background, unless you're going to do like a gradient of some sort. But even a gradient can do a CSS now. So you don't need to do that. So let's do a background color for your body. And I'll give it like a little bit of a lighter gray. So probably the 999s might work out good there. Try that. Or actually no. So let's try that. Yeah, it looks a little bit nicer. So still gray, but it's not as intense of a gray. That kind of work if you want to make it more. If you want to make the value a little bit more, you could go up to. Let's try. Nope, it's a little too much. Still or something like that. Yeah, something like, or maybe do like a something like that. Kind of like that a little better. So I think just using a lighter gray and then doing like a white boxes throughout your website, I think that'll definitely give you open up some doors for you, like visually. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Interested to kind of see the next revision. Same thing I said to Laura. If you go on to, I'm sure you've taken this design and made additional pages at this point, and maybe you've even done some of the issues I've just talked about. But it'd be great to see another revision, see where you're at with it, and then see if I can give you any additional feedback before you submit your final project. But I like how you do in the HTML. I like how you do some of the CSS, the structure. I think you're starting to get the structure down of how to write the code. I think you're on track with that. You just want to keep tweaking the design and starting to think about, making the design look good. All right. Keep moving on here. All right. All right, so Alicia, Elise there. All right. Let me see. I'll open up your page here. All right, so you have your page there. All right, actually it's looking pretty good. I think actually you've done a pretty good job of implementing majority of your design that you design in Photoshop or Illustrator. I'm actually probably not going to modify it for time purposes. I'm not going to tweak the CSS or HTML too much. Actually, I might just talk about a few issues that I see, and then some things you might want to clean up. But I think you actually have a good basis for this. Let me just quick take a look at your HTML and see how the structure you're using here. Actually, here, let me just view the page source. I'll do that. So you're using header, section, class, footer. Good. I like your structure there. Look at your style sheet real quick. Yep, that's good. All right. I think you have a good start here. Two things I'd probably would do is like you have a lot of space, especially if you go wider on the design. Probably when you design this or when you're kind of initially playing with this, you probably anticipate being more of the size. Now when you go on of a wider route, you're going to have a lot of empty space here. So two ways to do this. Either you could auto size this. It looks like you're trying to do a carousel up here. Do like an image carousel. You could set the width to be 100% for the images for the carousel to be 100% width of this box that it's in. That would be one thing. Or you could center this a little bit more to the side here. But I kind of like you're staying kind of wide, and it works good. You see, it works much better here. But when you go wide on the screen, it kind of breaks a little bit here because you have so much space in the middle there next to the image. So if it was me, I would probably scale up the image. I would set like the image or do some CSS for the image to make this 100% width to kind of scale up a little bit more in the box it's inside of. That's probably what I would do. And also, I'd give yourself some more size on the your main navigation, because like I said, your main navigation works good. Here it's actually not too bad, right? But I would probably actually start to have some kind of layering issues there, so you want to be careful about that. Make sure your divs kind of have your columns where you have your columns are defined, so you won't have this overlapping issue. It's probably want to make sure you have like a column as like one div for one column, another div for another column, and just make sure they're kind of one's floating to the left or floating to the right, or maybe they're floating both left and they just won't hit each other. Worst case, maybe it'll snap down, or you just want to kind of be careful about that. But I would give yourself some more type size, like increase the type size of your navigation, make it a little bit bigger, thicker. I think you do that. I think your header here. I think you'd like to go over to the left here, but actually I'd be curious to see what does this look like center line. I'd be curious about that. Like, what would this look like center line? And also the kind of note about this, as you guys are working on your HTML and the CSS for your final sites, feel free to play with the layout that you initially designed. If you find as you're kind of doing the HTML and CSS, doing the layout, and you find it would work better if you change the alignment of one of the elements, please do. This is, like I said, this is an iterative process of finishing up these websites, and I want you guys to feel free to change the design if you want to. Okay, so I'd be curious to see what does this Tactile Trends logo look like in the center of the page with this leader in fashion trend reporting the center. That'd be kind of curious. If you don't want to do the center, I would push it over to the right a little bit more. It's really super tight to this black edge here, so I'd push that over. At least if you still want to have it left line, it's still pushed over. The nice thing also too, if you center line this, is you have a lot of empty space here, which is not the worst thing. It's okay, but like I said, you provide a lot of empty space here, and you could probably use this in the future for something. If you want to display some more images or do something else in the header. If you want to keep your header clean though, I don't know. I'd recommend centering in this logo because I think it would actually polish it off and give it a nice clean look, especially above your navigation. I think that would be a nice element to do. But like I said, if you don't want to do that, I can understand. Just if you want to keep the left align for the logo and the header, just give yourself some more space over to the right. Actually, what I would do, see that there should be like a line. See where my cursor is? There's a line where the highlights in this image box is. Okay, your logo should really align with this this invisible line that's like where this highlights in this image box is. So it should kind of follow a nice grid, a nice column going down on your page. Okay, so I would definitely push that over. All right, same thing. I think you're still working on the footer. I can see that you're still working on the footer. I'm just center these in these columns here, get these in center this text here. I think that would be good. I'll be interested to see your subpage. I think you have a really good start on this first page here that you're working on. I think this will kind of lead into your secondary pages really well. Be interested to see what you do with your links too. If you can get this the carousel working, that'll be nice to have a nice little carousel view here. Also with these links too. Also, quick note too, if you're going to be providing, it says quick links, are each one of these images going to go to a subpage, which they can be, because remember your page has to be a minimum of 5 pages. I don't want you to, the worst thing is, and you will get points deducted, if you have links on your page that they imply they're links, this is quick links, so I'm supposed to be clicking on them. If I click on them, it doesn't go anywhere, or doesn't, or goes to a broken page, or maybe even possibly you go to an external site, that'd be fine. But you need to have all the links functional. Okay, that is a requirement for everybody. Make sure all of your links, test all of your links. If you have a link, it needs to go somewhere. Same thing for, let's say for here, like, are you going to have a press page? All right, I'm not sure if you are, but if you're going to have a press page, it better go to a press page, okay? If you're not going to go to a press page, you don't want to create it because you just want to kind of stay around the 5-page minimum. And it looks like you, with your main pages, like your home page, about, trend reports, events, contact, you have the 5 pages right there. So if you're not going to be going to, let's say, newsletter or press, just omit those. Okay, you don't even have to use them. I would even say, do you even need to have these, since you don't really have that many links in your site or so many subpages, you could even just omit these links here too. I don't know, I think they're kind of a little bit too redundant. Using links in the footer is nice if your page is really, really long. So as the user scrolls down to the bottom, they can see the similar links they see in the navigation, so they don't have to scroll back up to the top to go to another page. So that's okay, but your page is not too long, so it doesn't take too long to get down to there, so it feels a little redundant. So I probably would omit that or make your page longer. But I think you probably want to keep the page approximately this height. So I would just omit these and simplify the header, or sorry, simplify the footer, and just go with that. All right, but I think you're in a good track. I think it's a good start. I think you did a good job with the HTML, CSS. Did a good job working with and trying to recreate your design that you designed in Photoshop and Illustrator. All right, good. All right. What else do we have here? All right, Larissa. Take a look at your site here. A couple more here. All right, so let's see what we're doing here. So it looks like these aren't HTML files. You have image directory. All right, so you have your slices there. You have, I wonder if these just don't have the HTML extension on top of it. Let me try that. Part 1 and part 2, which I like, you have 2 files there. That's good. Let me put an HTML. Make sure, too, when you save your files from Sublime Text, sometimes the browser may let you get away with this, but you definitely want to make sure, especially when you submit your final project, make sure all of your HTML files have the extension of HTML. You can also do .htm to shorten it, but do .html as the extension. So when you do file save as inside of a, let's say inside of a Sublime, you want to make sure that it is an HTML file. Okay, because I'm thinking your code is an HTML. Let me open this up in Sublime. Your code's HTML, right? But if you don't save this as a .html file, and it's simple to do, you just do file save as when you're saving this file out, and make sure you just save it with a .html extension. You actually type out .html. Just get in the habit of doing that. All right, because like I said, if you have to submit it and I have to go and change the extensions for all of your files when I'm looking at your final website, that's not going to be good. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have that all. All right, so it looks like you have a good amount of HTML. All right, none of your images are showing up though. All right, so the reason why your images aren't showing up is because the way that you're linking to them. Now, I'm not sure if you're using Dreamweaver. Sometimes when you use Dreamweaver, and depending upon how you set the site up in Dreamweaver, and you do like go to manage sites, you set up the how you're working off you set the folder for the site, where you do actually if you in Dreamweaver you actually don't do the site manager and don't set up your site in Dreamweaver and you try to include an image, insert an image, Dreamweaver actually will do something like this where it actually will do like a very long URL. But actually it looks like, now I'm taking a closer look at this, it looks like you're linking directly off of, maybe you have your files. Oh, so you're probably working off a Dropbox folder. You're right clicking saying getting link and you're pasting the link in there. Don't need to do that. You got to simplify this, right? So look at this whole long text. What are your title.png? Wow, here. Let me just shorten this here. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to say, erase it all. Do images. I think you have an uppercase img, so I'm going to do images / title.png. Let's see if that fixes it. I think it's where you're up there, right? Let me see that. Make sure that image actually is in that folder. That's another thing I want to double check. You check that out. Okay, so your image directory, what do you have here? You don't have a title. Okay, so you only have part of the images here. So let me see here. I'm just going to pick one of these images here. So I'll do men's love. You'll have like a header image. I'm going to do introduce. Since you have an introduce image, what is that, PNG? I'll try that. There, the image is displayed. Okay. So this goes for everybody. You want when you link to your images with image tags, you just want to see in the source attribute the direct link to that file right next to like the relative link to your file that's right, according to what's inside of your project folder. Now you're doing good by having a project folder, like you have, like looking at your folder that you submitted. You have an image directory, you have an images. You have part 1, part 2. I would probably name this index.html, but that's okay for this exercise. You definitely want to make sure you name your files, like have the home page named index.html and go down from there, like about.html or contact.html or products.html. So you want to definitely do that. I would probably also use, be careful with uppercase, because when you upload these folders to a server, sometimes web servers are case sensitive. And so depending how you link to it, it's a good practice when you're naming your files, naming your folders for websites, keep everything lowercase. Just simplifies everything so you don't worry about case sensitivity issues. But what you want to do is you want to put all of your images inside the image directory. It looks like you only have a partial select few of your images, and the rest of you had in a Dropbox folder that was outside of your folder. You want to bring all the images, put them inside the image directory, and when you link them using the source attribute, okay, you want to do it nice and clean. Look how short that is. Like if I compare the two, what you did here, look at the code, look at this, compared to this. Drastic difference, okay? And you want to keep like looking at, also when you're looking at code, if this looks like a mess to you, like it looks like almost confusing. Like it looks confusing to me. Like I have to like parse that URL. It's super long and it's like, I'm like, where is that going to? And actually I had to take a second look at it. I'm like, oh, it's actually going to the Dropbox website and kind of sharing the photo from an online kind of share link. Like, all right, so, but you really shouldn't be doing that on your site. Sometimes you get away with that for personal links. Like if you send like somebody a photo and you want to right click on the photo in your Mac or Windows and you say you want to share this Dropbox link to somebody, it works that way. But when you're building out a website, you want to have all of the images inside of your images directory, all right? And you want to just reference them like this. And if your index file or your web pages is right next to that images directory, you can just say images, that's your directory, then / the file name, right? And that links to your file. And look how clean that is, okay? So I would you need to correct that. All of your references where you have your images, you definitely want to correct that on all of your pages. And then your images will start to appear. I bet you're probably fighting with this Dropbox link. It may work sometimes, may not work other times, and it's probably confusing you, okay? You want to bring all of your images, all of those slices, and bring those into and list them like this, okay? The structure of your page, looks like you're trying to do a container 12 clear fix. I wonder if this is coming from, you have like some classes here. You have grid 12, you have grid 4, grid 12. I wonder if these classes are coming from Dreamweaver. I'm not sure, or if you're using another editor that's automatically creating these grids for you, or how you're exporting out your design into, and it's automatically creating some of this HTML and CSS classes. Not sure about that. Looks like, oh, using 960 grid with 12 columns. So you're bringing that in. All right, so I kind of see what you're trying to do. So you're trying to use like a 960 grid system. Totally fine. You're linking to that. Is that included? You're linking to it inside of your CSS directory. Do you include the CSS directory? No, there's no CSS directory here, so you got to make sure you include the CSS directory. If you're going to reference that, it needs to be included. So you should have a fonts directory, image directory, CSS directory, and then have your CSS files in there. And then also, what you need to do is what you're doing now is inline styles within the page within a style tag. So I would do, you need to get these rules. Also be careful how you're writing these too. I'm not sure this is breaking. I'm not even sure if it's probably ignoring your CSS here too. Got to be careful about that because you're putting curly braces here, but then you don't put a selector in front of it. So that's going to cause some issues. So you're going to put the CSS inside. Also too, when you reference your fonts, you want to make sure you put, if you do a custom typeface, which I'm not sure where you're getting this custom typeface from, maybe like an embedded font that you're trying to bring in, you're going to make sure you put something like that in quotes so it can read it. So I would put this, you need to put this into an external style sheet. Okay, as we talked about this in class, you want to get these style rules into a separate style sheet, get them out of your HTML file, because then these style rules won't work. It'll only work on just this page. Okay, and if you have your CSS tied specifically to that page, it creates so much more work for you. Sometimes you have to do it. Sometimes there's occasion, maybe if you have like an H1 tag, and for some reason you want to do like a style attribute and do something, right? I want to do like probably wouldn't do something like this, but let's say I wanted to do something like a very margin left of like 3 pixels or something like that. I don't know. Like if I want to do something, a very specific style, because I wanted to tweak something, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily do this, but I'm just saying this sometimes is okay. If you need to do like a small little change, a small little adjustment, you could do an inline style to a tag to do that. Sometimes that's okay. But when you're doing style rules like here, like you're doing it inside of a style tag, inside of the header, you want to get these into external style sheet. You know, this is a kind of, having them here is a good way to learn, you know, just kind of get started, but you definitely want to get these style rules out to a separate style sheet. All right, what else can I give you some suggestions on? So I would definitely fix those up. I think, like I said, I kind of had to, once again, I would go back, listen to what I talked about with Laura and the other work that I talked about, you know, putting stuff in a container, keeping your structure of, you know, I would probably maybe use some section tags to kind of make sure you have like sections defined throughout the page. So I'd probably would suggest that. Like I said, it's kind of hard for me to look at this because none of the images are working, so it's kind of hard for me to kind of see, but I would probably try to get this so it's in some type of container towards the center of the page, especially thinking back on your initial design there. You know what I probably would suggest you do, you know, and like I said, you probably have gone past this point because I know this was a few weeks ago that you submitted this. I would probably simplify this. I would really super simplify this. Don't worry about background colors now. I know you're trying to go in here, put background colors, and I showed you how to do that by blocking off, doing like wireframes, like borders or background colors to kind of block off the page. And that's fine to kind of just figure out your layout, but what I probably would do is just get your text in the image. Just worry about just getting your copy, your text, getting your images in there, getting them displayed, and start working on just getting the bare layout working. You know, just define where your rows, your columns are. Just start from the top in the header, work your way down, do piece by piece. Don't worry about background colors, really. Don't worry about doing a lot of, and you just block off the site. Just do like, kind of deal with like the big parts of your site, like deal with your navigation, deal with the header. Just try to get like those initial parts working. But like I said, I'm anticipating you probably have done some changes since then. I'd be happy to take another look at this. Like I said, please submit an update version as a zip file to the discussion boards, and I'll be happy before next Wednesday, and I'll take a look at also too. If you have a specific question, something I can help you out with, that's something that's confusing, send me an email and we can discuss it, or just post it. I will be following the discussion boards between now and next week, kind of looking for your updated work. If you guys have a specific question, and as you're working through the rest of this page and you're kind of hitting a wall, you know, post some of your work and then post some code, post your zip file. Like maybe I could answer it even before next Wednesday. Okay, if it's something I could do relatively easily just by replying to your post, then I'll do that. Okay, because I definitely don't want you to get hung up here. Okay, but I would first work on just getting your images displayed there. Work on some of your don't even work about your typography too much, like the size of your type. Don't worry about the font size at this point. Like I said, just get the general layout with your rows and columns working, and then I think you'll be in a better place a little bit farther along there. But like I said, I'd be curious to see where you've gotten since then, because I think you've probably done some more work on this too. All right, who else do we have here? Nicholas, I think, right? Nicole. Yep, shift to yours. Take a look at here. Ooh, what's going on here? Web archive. Not even sure if I changed the .web archive to an HTML file. Well, I don't know if that's even going to work. Let me see this. Let's try it. Yes, I don't know. Let me take a look to see if it does work. It's kind of freezing my browser out there. Let me open this up Sublime. See what looks like. You try to save this in Safari as a web archive. I don't know why you would do that. I don't really understand. So I'm not sure what you're trying to attempt there. But let me open this up in Sublime. So what I'm thinking, I can partially simulate HTML, but then it's not going to render out right. It's kind of gives me some. Actually, here, let me actually just remove some of this stuff. Maybe I can fix. Just quickly take a. What is all this CSS? Oh, okay, so I see what happened here. So all of what you did, you saved it as, when you're in Safari, you probably did a file save as, and the default option is a web archive, which tries to take up all your page, all the images, all the CSS, and kind of combines it all together. Okay, that's not good, because what I'm seeing here, I'm seeing your CSS. I'm probably seeing some of the code, the bytecode for your images. That's what I'm seeing here too. So that's not good. So please, I need to see your HTML. Okay, so I need to make sure you save it as HTML file. Hopefully the editor, I'm not sure what editor you're using. Please let me know which editor you're using. So maybe you're not saving out right. But when you're saving out your files, you shouldn't be saving them from Safari. You should be saving from Dreamweaver, Sublime, or whatever text editor that you're using. That should be how you should be saving your files out. So please get that fixed. Like I said, please get that updated to Blackboard. So I can kind of see an updated version and be able to help you out with some of the issues you have. Because looking at some base HTML, looks like you're way there, but it's like I said, I cannot open this up into a browser the way it is. And I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm on a PC right now, not the web archive. I don't have Safari installed in here, so I don't even know if that would even really open it up. But I have to see your body, div, some web form, main container. Image. Okay, so like I said, I can't test this or see what this looks like until I can actually see the full page or see this actually working as an HTML page. Okay, so make sure when you submit it, make sure it is an HTML page. It cannot be a web archive. Like I said, if somebody submitted like a final project like this to me, I would barely give them half credit. Okay, so I need every file has to be an HTML file saved with a .html extension so that I can kind of see it, open up, and make sure it's nice and clean so we can take a look at it. All right. So please correct that and post it to the discussion boards, okay? And as you guys are kind of working on the final site. Now, I know, like I said, I commented on everybody's site here. I know what I've talked about here is it's challenging. I know as you guys are working on finishing up your websites here, and like I said, I'm assuming most of you have probably made a lot of progress from the versions that I saw. I'm assuming you have. Like, I did check the discussion board before I started the session here tonight. I did not see anybody update his design, so I'm just using what you gave me a few weeks ago, okay? So please post some updated designs. I'd love to take a look at them because I'd like to take a look at them before I grade them, honestly. Because then if I can give you some feedback and if you can do some improvements based on that preliminary feedback, that'll definitely help your grade, okay, for your final project. Okay, so please take the opportunity over this next week because you do have the extension of, I have up until, review that final date again. That final date is the 17th, okay, on Sunday. You have up until that time to submit your work, okay? So you have for the final exam and also for the final project. Like I said, if you see here on the screen here on the Blackboard Collaborate, I did schedule another section, okay, or another session for on the 13th, which is next Wednesday at 7 p.m., okay? So please post some of your work to the discussion board, like the work in progress discussion board. So if you go to the discussions, Scroll down to the bottom. Scroll down to the bottom right here and post some of your work in here. Okay, make some posts. Post a zip file of your folder that you're working out of, and I can just easily download that, take a look at it just like I did tonight, and then let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so please do that between now and next Wednesday. Before next Wednesday, I'll take a look. Oh, well, during the next week, I'm going to be taking a look at your discussion board, see if you do post any updates there. So we'll see what kind of changes you can make through kind of to finish up. But I know, just kind of a good words of encouragement to everybody. I know that doing web design is challenging. That's the whole point. This is why web designers, they get paid money. To take a design that they would design in Photoshop or Illustrator, like a flat comp, and then convert that design to HTML and CSS. It's not supposed to be easy. That's why people get paid for it. That's why clients charge money to have this done for them. Okay. Now, eventually, maybe software will get to the point where we won't have to write as much HTML or CSS code or write any at all. Probably it'll get to that point someday, and the browsers will all be in sync. But it's taken a while. I'm surprised actually it's taken a while to the point where we're not there yet. I don't see we're going to be there anytime soon because of all the browsers are different. And also HTML and CSS, once you learn it, it does give you a ton of flexibility. The one thing that we talk about in the advanced class is about responsive and adaptive design. And once you understand the fundamentals, you can kind of take that next step and kind of look at HTML and CSS as a design tool to design responsive websites. And that's the power that HTML and CSS gives you. It gives you a tool that you could take a design and make it adapt across multiple screen sizes, multiple devices, so between phones to tablets to different size desktop size, different laptop sizes, different screen sizes. And like I said, we didn't get into too much of that. I introduced a little bit of the media queries in this course. If you watch my videos a little bit later in the course, we talked about a little bit of the CSS. We spent a lot of time on that in the advanced class because being a professional web designer, it's a requirement now that every site has to be responsive. And HTML and CSS enables you to make responsive websites. Okay. Like I said, in the future, maybe the software will get to be advanced enough and will be adaptive enough where we can make a design and we can specify different layouts and formats for those designs, and it'll render out in the browser and we won't have to write as much code. But in the meantime, this is the tool that we have, HTML and CSS. And like I said, learning it, I know, is a challenge. But if you can get over the difficulty of learning about how to use this as a design tool, and I don't want you to look at it as a design tool. Look at it as like you would do in Photoshop or Illustrator. I know you're not dragging boxes around or changing property drop downs and settings and pointing, clicking, and doing all that. You're having to write a lot of code, and you're having to open up a text editor and type CSS code and HTML tags, and I know it's tedious. Okay, it is what it is. The only thing I can tell you is that it does get easier. The more you do it, the more often you do it. That's also too, I'd recommend, as we're coming near the end of the course, is after you finish up your websites here, don't just put off working on websites until you get to the web animation or the advanced classes. I'd find a personal project to work on, find your personal site. Work on even if you just do a one HTML page personal site, have that be your own kind of landing page, your home page for the internet. I think that would be a great starting point to have. And then what you can do is once you work on more websites in your classes and have more work to show, or even your static work, like your images that you work in Photoshop or Illustrator, that you create your design layouts and your comps, you could display them on this one-page website as a portfolio. And this is, and every web designer needs an online site to have as a homepage or a foundation for them to either to apply for full-time work or to apply for contract projects or to find client work. Having your own website on the internet is super, super important. I find also too, having a personal website as a personal project, that kind of keeps the skills fresh, where it allows you to keep working through all these things that we learned, because if you don't practice them over and over again, you're going to forget them. And I do have a lot of students like that. They get to the advanced class and they have to spend the first 3 to 4 weeks pretty much relearning a lot of the stuff that they should have remembered from the intro to web class. It is what it is. But I recommend, if you can find a personal project, like a personal website, or maybe it's a website about something that you're interested in, like I don't know, like a group. Maybe you're into games and you want to make like a video game page of the games you're playing or something like that. I don't know. It could be anything. But find a personal page that could be a great personal project for you to work on, that you could just work on the HTML and CSS and upload images on a frequent basis, like maybe touch it like once a week or once every 2 weeks. That'll keep the skills that you learn in this class and the fundamentals that we talked about, it'll keep it fresh, and it'll make it, especially if you want to make a career of this. If you want to be a web designer, the only way to get better at this is to keep practicing, keep making, iterate with your designs, make it a process that you keep learning, keep growing with your designs, and keep working. So it's not going to just come easy by itself. Okay. For some people, maybe some people that are a little bit more technically inclined, that kind of have a good balance between left and right brain, where they can see a design in Photoshop, they can design a perfect design in Photoshop Illustrator and replicate that in HTML and CSS. That's usually a rare thing to have that happen for people. It's usually for all designers. It's usually a challenge to learn HTML and CSS. But once you can, and once you have a bare minimum of a foundation, knowing the basics, then it opens up a lot of doors. Okay, so encourage everybody as you guys are working on this week, finishing up your work, both in this class and your other classes. I'm looking forward to seeing any revisions between now and next Wednesday. And then we will give you some more feedback next week if I can. So if I see any more designs, I can kind of give you some feedback, answer some questions. And then remember that the 17th, that's the last date for any work, for any incomplete exercises, for any resubmissions, for Project A and Project B. All of your final work has to be completed along with the final exam. So the final exam is on Blackboard. You'll see that under the assessments link. Please make sure you complete the final exam too before the 17th. Okay, so hope you guys have a good rest of the week, and let me know if you have any questions.